Hi everybody, welcome back. This is episode 34 and this is a big one. This is where we're starting the massive project of building the Niagara Escarpment, and it's going to be a good one. Well, it's going to be a good series because we can't fit it all in one. It's going to be probably 3 or 4 part series. But anyway, I welcome you back. I hope you're going to enjoy this wonderful series. We start with an overview of the project, sort of a thought process of what we're going to try and lay out in the next few episodes. And then we move into what I find is a really interesting section, and that is a little bit of geology and history of how the escarpment was formed. And then we're going to move into building a mining company, because I wanted to get a three-dimensional view of how this mining company was going to sit on top of the escarpment before I go ahead and get that escarpment in place. And so we run into a few interesting engineering challenges with this and how we work through them. So I hope you stay with us. We got some new techniques involved, so it's really, really big one. And so glad you're all with us, and I appreciate the support. And I got to give a shout out to the guys in Canada who sent me this shirt, and it says Canada, and it's got Simcoe on it. So Simcoe is where I'm from, where I grew up. So thank you very much, guys. It's starting to be a tradition here with you guys sending in the t-shirts. All right, thanks a lot, and stay with us. I'm really, really happy with all the support the channel's getting. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and please tell your friends so we can grow together. Okay, without further ado, you know what it is. We need some real world soul.
Across the prairies to the sea, they laid the iron for the rails, and we ride. They shared their lives, their hearts, and their pride. They had railway sorrow.
All right, so I think we're going to start what's going to be one of the major scenes on the layout. Now, this is going to be a pretty huge project. We're going to run some mountains across here, all the way over here, probably to down around this area here. You can see I'm already making some trees in preparation for this. This is going to be a huge project, and I've had to call the engineers out on this one because we want to have access. There's a few things that we need. We need to have access to this track that's going to be going through the mountain. Now, that may be easier than we think, because we may be able to get access through the back here, which is why I left that open in the first place. But the second requirement is this incline has to be pretty steep to clear the yard and get up high enough, fast enough. And it has to accommodate a mining company right here. Okay, and it has to blend with this, which is the road, and the train going past the road there. So this is going to be a major project. I'm really excited about it. I think this is going to be really, really cool. It's going to define the layout. Like, it's going to be one of the major scenes in the layout. And so there's going to be, we're going to take you right from the thought process behind it, the engineering ideas to make sure that we have everything thought of. I have to also make sure I have access to these switch machines in case they go. Okay, now I'm going to do some research, which will be covered in the next section here, on getting some picture representations of what I want this to look like. And we also have to think, how high does it come? Does it come up, this high and cover some of these tracks in? Do these tracks go through the mountains? So there's a lot of engineering stuff that we got to work out, and we're going to do it as we go. So hopefully you're going to stay with us through this project. I'm anticipating a several part project here. And one of the first things I think I'm going to do is I'm going to build this mining company so that I have a 3D idea of how much space it's going to take and what it's going to look like and how the mountains are going to fit in around it. So that'll be the first, probably the first part of our mountain building series. And hopefully you stay with us and enjoy it and learn stuff. So I'll see you when we start the mining company. Well, as a boy growing up in southern Ontario, trips to this place, Niagara Falls, to feel the mist on our cheeks and the thunder in our souls was a rite of passage. Now, the namesake of this escarpment that I'm trying to model is an example of the power of raw nature. This is demonstrating about 6 million cubic feet of water falling about 175 feet every minute. And this water reaches an average speed of about 68 miles an hour as it continues down this slope. So this is the escarpment. This is the water connection flowing from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario through the Niagara River. And the stone formations that are formed on this escarpment are just absolutely breathtaking. But to effectively model these scenes, I wanted to know more about how the escarpment was formed. And what I discovered was fascinating. So it's amazing where this hobby takes you, because I never thought I'd be researching the rock formation development of the Niagara Escarpment, but here we go. Okay, so the Niagara Escarpment was formed and existed before the glaciations, and this is approximately 415 to 430 million years ago. And it was formed before the formation of the Niagara Falls, actually. So the Niagara Falls formed after the escarpment was formed, and the escarpment was here before the dinosaur extinction. So some of the stuff we're modeling may actually have, had dinosaurs walking on it. Now, the land that is now southern Ontario emerged from a giant sea of the Paleozoic era, and that was about 250 million years ago. So this big, huge yellow line here is indicating sort of where the escarpment forms. And you'll see there's Lake Erie, there's Lake Ontario. And this is the Appalachian Mountains over here. And we'll talk about those in a second. But the Appalachian Basin and the Michigan Basin were all covered in a massive sea. And these little lakes, the Great Lakes, will form out of that sea. So very fascinating geology. And I'm not a geologist, so anybody out there that here's the mistakes I'm making, just let me know. Now, so here's the Great Appalachian Mountains, and they're formed by a lot of different mountain ranges. But this was formed when two great giant continents crashed together. They pushed these mountains up. Now, these mountains were basically formed from this huge pressure that these two continents colliding created. And the Appalachian Mountains were basically formed maybe 480 million years ago, and they once reached elevations. This is amazing, I never knew this. They once reached elevations similar to those of the Alps and the Rocky Mountains before they started to experience erosion. And that erosion is very crucial to the formation of the escarpment that we're talking about, because the erosion of these tectonic mountains flowed into the Michigan and Appalachian basins, which basically formed silt, which was compressed to form the rock formations that we see in the escarpment. So now this is a really cool picture because it shows this sort of light purple line is showing the escarpment formation here. So all of this area was under this great sea, which was quite shallow. The sea that covered this area was quite shallow, but it had these areas of deeper water here, okay, which now as that sea sort of started to become less deep and began to evaporate, it actually became shallower and shallower and shallower and eventually dried right up. So this area here was actually the sea bottom, which has now been exposed. And that's why we see all of the layering that is happening in the rock formations of the escarpment. And as the elements start to erode those, what was the sea, the bottom of the sea, we start to see the hard rock formations start to stick out more, and the softer formations, which were made by the ancient life forms basically being condensed and crushed into fossil type rocks, they start to erode more easily. Now this escarpment, another interesting thing is it begins over here in Watertown, New York, and then goes through Ontario, southern Ontario, around Lake Michigan, and continues along through the Wisconsin and into Illinois in the United States. So this, in fact, Madison, Wisconsin, I believe, is actually built on this escarpment. Okay, so wow, the stuff you learn doing a model railroad is pretty awesome. Okay, so this is showing the different types of rock formation. So these are the hard dolostone sedimentation here, and then there's the even harder shale, and then this limestone, the soft crunchy stuff at the bottom, which is composed of all the animal carcasses that were floated to the bottom and became compressed. Now this is just showing the Niagara Escarpment going along through Canada, and I just wanted to show you this area right here is the part of the escarpment that we're going to be modeling. So this is the Hamilton Yard over here on our layout, and then this is going to be the part of the escarpment. Obviously we're not going to include the lake behind it, but we're going to try and get this part in here. Now this is the inspiration. So these are the magnificent views that you can see along this escarpment, and so we're going to try and model some of this, and we won't be able to get these trees down here because we have the Hamilton Yard down here, so we have to take some modeling license. Just unbelievable layering, so you can see the different layers along here, the different tree formations, how the trees look. And then this I think is really cool, this big outcropping here. I'm going to try and put one of those in. I think that's pretty cool. I might even just copy this and put some people up there too. Okay, so this is my inspiration for the escarpment. This is some history and some geology behind how the escarpment was formed, and I hope you enjoyed this little thing. I found it fascinating to learn this stuff, especially since I grew up in I grew up in southern Ontario. The escarpment was sort of part of my life there, and I never really learned all this stuff in school. So I think the education needs to be peaked a little bit there in southern Ontario, so that we learn a little bit more about how this wonderful piece of geology is formed. Okay, so let's move back to the train room, and I think we're going to start building a mining company so we can get an idea of the three-dimensional aspect of that mining company so that we can build the escarpment around it. Okay. Well, we're starting to look at the mining company now. And this is the kit we're going to start with. This is the Walters New River Mining Company. Okay, you can see how the mining company looks. Now I've already taken the measurements from the front here when I laid the track. So the track should be in position to take these cars. And let's have a look at what we got here. Okay, so we got the directions. Okay, this looks pretty straightforward. Let's have a look here. Oh, this is a good quality model. Very nice. It looks like we have some very good quality stuff to work with here. So what I'll do is I'll look at maybe they seem to have this kind of a white color with some gray sort of aging on it. So I have to think about the color of what we're going to paint all these things. So we'll pull all the parts out and kind of set them aside, and we'll decide on what color we're going to paint it first. And I'll get back to you then, and we'll have another idea session about how to go forward. Okay, looks like it's going to be a good project. Quite excited about this one. All right, so I've got all this laid out, all the pieces that are going to be the same color so far that I can tell anyway. What I've done is I've just used one of these old signs, sort of the signs I picked up on sale, flipped it over. So we're on the back of it now. And then I put it on a piece of styrofoam. Just move this a bit so you can see. Just put a bit of styrofoam under it, give it some sturdiness. And I'm going to take these out and paint them. Now, I've used this file, which is a 200 mm diamond file, to file off any of the little nubs that are still there on all these pieces. Okay, so I'm going to take these out now. I've thought a lot about colors, what colors I want to paint these, and I'm trying to think what it's going to look like on the layout and what other colors are going to be around it. And we're at the top of the escarpment. There's going to be a lot of rocks and things, some trees probably around it. So I thought I would try this color, and it's kind of a good industrial color, and I like it. I like the color, so I'm going to give it a go, and we'll see how it looks. I think this will look good with sort of some green tree stuff around it. Okay, so I'm going to go outside and we'll paint this up, and I'll bring it back in. Alrighty, stay with us. Okay, so I've got all of the windows in. and there is a lot of windows in this project, but it does take a few minutes to put them all in. But the other thing that I want to just point out, like for instance this one here, I don't know if you can see this, but some of the windows had a little bit of like grime on them. Now normally I would go to great measures to take all that grime off and have them totally clear, but because this is a mining company, I'm assuming the windows are going to be a bit dirty, and in fact here there's like a little crack in one of the windows. And this is all just stuff that occurred as I was putting the windows in. Now that crack is just a defect in the plastic, I think, but it looks kind of cool, so I left those in. Now if it looked like an overt fingerprint or something like that, then I took it out. But I think don't get too pedantic about taking out all of the stuff on the windows, especially if you're in a dirty, grimy industry like this mining operation, because they're going to have dirty windows. Okay, so I just wanted to update you on that, and here's how it looks right now. Okay. So we're going to start putting stuff together. Be back when I have some progress for you. Update on the painting. So these are the the girders, and I've used the standard sort of red with a rust effect on these. Okay, now this is the inside floor, and this is where the coal and the rocks and stuff come in. So what I did was I painted this a flat black, and then I sprinkled fine black ballast just to give the effect of coal spillage, because I'm sure there's coal all over the place inside that thing. And then these are the pillars, which I've painted concrete. Okay, so those are the updates on the painting, and I'm going to start put together the actual building, and I'll update you when I have some more of that. So this is just flat black with fine black ballast sprinkled over it to give it a cool effect. These are painted red with a rust effect, then sprayed on while they're still wet. Okay. Hope that helps. Let's see how this thing looks. Okay, so this is the stage we're at now with the main building. You can see we're getting the structure put together. I've got that clamped just to make sure that it doesn't pop loose. Don't want to move it too much. Okay, now I'll just let you know the instructions on this are not totally clear. So these walls sit in, and when you're first putting this together, it is a bit confusing, but this is kind of how it works, is these go in and they form. It's a little tricky, that's all. But all the engineers out there will think I'm a bit crazy, but the guys that aren't engineers and you try to read those plans, they're just a little bit confusing. But anyway, it's coming together. I will update you when I have the next section done. Okay. Next update with our mining company. So I've got this base in. So this is the base with the coal that I've painted up and put the coal in. And then these are the cross beams into the concrete. I've just got them clamped just right now till the glue dries. There we go. have to say, so far, this has been a really well-crafted model. Everything fits together very well, so I'm quite pleased so far. But this is just a quick update to let you see the progress of this mining company. So work on it a bit more and we'll update you then. All right, made a bit of progress here. So I've got the main building done. I haven't put the roof on yet. And I've got the side building with the connecting I guess silo type tin structure. And I've set it onto the layout where it's going to go. Just because I was getting a little nervous whether I had enough space here or not. And it seems to be fitting okay. Now the one issue that I'm gonna have is over here. There's another one of these types of sort of flow conveyor type things. And it comes out of here, and I think it's supposed to go into the mountain. So in other words, they're in the hill, the mountain, and they're mining the stuff, and it's coming in here. It's getting sort of processed in here and in here, and this is where the trucks come over here. The trucks come in there, the trains come in here. Okay, and so I'm thinking I might have to have a bit of a continuation on these mountains, a bit more than I wanted to. So this is going to take a bit more of imagination, and I'll hopefully we can come up with a solution. Okay, now I'm just going to try to get another view on this. I don't know if you can see how it looks. It's starting to look pretty good, and that fits pretty good in there. I like the colors, and I'm going to put the roof on the thing soon. I think I'm going to put some lights in this thing too, but the interesting thing, or the cool thing about this, is there's no bottom in it, you see, so you can put the lights structures in and then just set the whole model down on top of it. See that? So that's what I might do. I'll have to get some kind of a pole to put the lights on and take them up. I think in here, right in here, I'll probably get some front end loaders or something that can go in that space. So when you look in the window, you're going to see some activity in there. I don't know what I'm going to do over here yet. I might just go and have a squiz on the website and see what this actual real mine looks like, so that I can model something inside there, so that when you look in, you just don't see an empty space. Okay, so look, mining company's coming along. This is the first phase, and I'm glad, really glad that I did this first and not started to build the escarpment, because as you can see, I've had to change some things a little bit just to make this fit. Okay, so I'll be back when I have some more for you. I know I just temporarily put that other sort of thing that I was talking about that's gonna have to go into a mountain or something for mining. Let's see if I can do that. So that's only got one support beam. So just temporarily put that in, but you can see somehow I'm going to have to make this terrain fit the mining company, which might be interesting. All right. So I thought I'd just show you that, and I'll just give you another little look at how this is going to come up. Very cool. Okay. Back when I have some more. Okay, I'm back with a little update on this mining operation, and I've done some more research into these mining companies, and what I'm finding is a lot of these mining companies have this type of a transport, covered transport, like a tin covered transport gizmo, and they usually run to a silo of some sort. Okay, and on top of the silo is usually a little shed, and so that this thing will run like this and go run into the mining company itself. So what I've decided to do is to, instead of having this long piece go from the mine into sort of a mountain like I thought I was going to do, I think it's more realistic to put it into one of these silos. So what I've done is I've taken just a piece of PVC, and it's a bit larger PVC than I used before for the other tanks, just because these are more, I think this looks more realistic size. Now, I had a piece that was already cut, but the end was rough. So all I've done is taken a piece of foam, fitted it in there, pushed it down until it was level, and then this down here will all be covered in with Sculpt-A-Mold and stuff like that, so you won't see that. And then I've taken another piece of foam, put it into this top, and then I've taken that Polyfilla smooth spread and just spread it over there, because this is kind of like a concrete type feel. It's pretty rough on the top. Now I'm gonna also, this has just been given a coat of primer. Okay, and then now what I'm about to do is use this stuff here called Dulux Stone, and this gives an effect of stone when you paint it on. Now it's not maybe exactly the right color that I want, but I'm going to put it on for the effect, and then I might just paint over that with the colors that I want. So I'll get moving on that. So just to recap, this is going to be like a, I don't know, some kind of silo that the mining company uses to either store or bring out the gypsum. This is going to go in here like that, and it's going to angle up, I believe. Maybe it is down. It might be down. I can't remember now, depending on how high the mining company is. Okay, and then once we get that in place, I'll show you how I've got an idea for how I'm gonna mount this up here. I mean, I could just glue it, but I don't know how stable that's gonna be. But anyway, so I've made this shed just out of some northeastern scale lumber. Okay, and this is just called HO Railroad Samples, and you get a bunch of pieces of wood in this sample kit, and so it's corrugated. So I've just used the corrugated piece, cut it to the size I want, glued it together using this northeastern flamingo glue. Works really well. Okay, so that's how I've done this. Now this, I've just put one coat of Rust-Oleum stainless steel, I think it is called. I just wanted to see how it looked, see if it was okay to use, and it looks pretty good. So I'm gonna I'll give it another coat with the roof on it, and I'll get back to you when I have more. Okay. All right, so I've got the first coat of this paint on there. Now I specifically used this coarse brush because I wanted to get this sort of liney effect, and that's the effect that you can see on there. And I didn't really worry too much about any imperfections yet. I'm going to put another coat on this, but you get the general feeling of this is like an old concrete type silo. Okay, and then we're going to put I'll put another coat on, we'll see how that looks, but it's starting to look pretty good. Now I don't know if I'm going to put lines around here or not, I don't know, because on some of the silos that I've seen, you can see that there's like a line where the concrete pour has stopped and the next one has started. But we'll see how this all comes out. And right now, I'm pretty pleased with how this is coming out. It's actually looking like an old concrete silo type thing. So, and back, I think when these were made, they made them pretty crudely. I'll just show you that. There you go, that's starting to come up pretty good too. All right. So I'll update you when I have some more, and I'm not sure if I'm going to leave it this color or not. It's a bit too creamy yellow for me. But anyway, we'll keep working ahead and see how it looks. I'll come back when I have that next coat on, and I have the shed painted up, and we'll put it on there and see how it looks. All right. Alright, so what I've decided to do here, there you see that silo in place with the little shack on the top and the mining company set in place. Now I'm going to highlight with a black marker exactly where all that is positioned, because I've got it in the exact spot that I want it. I've cleared out some of the ballast so that this area here can fit in perfectly. Just give you a bit of a different view here. I'm going to set my lights on a base and just run them straight up the center. So I'm not going to worry too much about putting the roof on at this point. I may just set them in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull, once I have them marked, I'll have everything marked, I'm going to pull that out and store it for later, and then we'll build the mountain around it. We'll bring it out periodically just to make sure that everything's fitting into place. But that's going to be the stage one of the mining company, getting that in place now. And now I'm going to mark it, and we'll move on to building the escarpment around it, which of course is going to go all into this area here. It's going to be a pretty major job, and it'll carry on over here. So we'll see how this all turns out. So next time we will probably be starting putting in the foam for the escarpment. See you then.